Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for this Saturday show. I'm Dave Percy, a meteorologist with the National Weather Service. On the satellite imagery, we've got a lot of clouds coming northeastward here, thick clouds spreading up to the north, off to the east, but the main rain-producing area is more back in this area where the front is. Another surge of moisture coming up from the south toward Kodiak Island. Rain this afternoon, east winds gusting up to about 25 miles an hour at the state airport there, and the rain extending back in across Bristol Bay to the Kilbrook Mountain areas, and then heavier rain back here over the Bering Sea with the main low center. Then a break out to the west and the next system way out there toward Kamchatka Peninsula. It was a pretty nice day though, from Shemya all the way into the Aleutians, uptown Alaska, getting into the 60s today. Not too bad here over the southeast interior, up in the Susitna Valley, sun breaking out. Next, extended back up toward the Seward Peninsula as well. Norton Sound, pretty nice day today. And you can see that extended up into the Kobuk and Koyukuk Valley as well as Kotzebue Sound there. But this front approaching the western Arctic coast was a little bit of a wind producer with Point Lacey gusts up to 35 miles an hour today, and gusts in the 25 to 35 mile per hour range here along much of the western Arctic coast. And then some showers and thunderstorms developing there in that upper trough, bringing the clouds and moisture over toward Arctic Village there on the east side, northeast interior. But a very nice day from Northway back up into the Tanana Valley. And then this just a lot of thick mid and high level moisture gradually lowering on the ceilings as you come southward until you pick up the rain down here to the south. This area of moisture gradually shifting eastward there, but still producing some showers down over the southern southeast coast, but a lot of sunshine this afternoon on up toward the north there around Juneau, Sitka, over toward Yakutat, and that all part of that clear area here in advance of that next frontal system. And watching this in motion again, you can see this area of clouds moving eastward, so I'll be pulling out of the area overnight tonight, but those showers will be lingering on the east side. There are some isolated thunderstorms. Also had a few isolated thunderstorms developing here over the interior, but nothing widespread at all. And a lot of clouds out over the Bering Sea with that main low center here south of the Pribilof Islands. St. Paul picking about half an inch of rain today with that system. And the front stretched out like this right across Kodiak Island this afternoon, about to push to the north. The main push here will be off to the northeast into the Gulf of Alaska. Pretty strong south wedge jet there going over the top of this retreating high pressure area over the northeast Pacific. And again, high pressure bringing the sunshine in over the interior today. Just some very isolated thunderstorm activity up here, mainly over the eastern Brooks Range with that upper disturbance. There's a front approaching the Arctic coast and big low pressure area here out over the Bering Sea, and one wave here over the Alaska Peninsula. Another one down in that area. Those will be both moving up to the northeast tonight. And you can see all the clearing that took place here along the southeast coast. We saw a couple of lingering showers over the southern portions of the Panhandle today, but all the thunderstorm activity over in Canada and on up to the north. And for tonight, just some variable clouds here for the Panhandle with light winds and about the same fair skies, risk of an isolated shower south central Alaska here, maybe a thunderstorm up over the Alaska range, but again, nothing too widespread. Mostly clear skies up over the interior areas, and then rain with this frontal boundary. Again, it's not really pushing much to the north. The main push with these developing lows will be off to the northeast, and that'll all be heading in toward the southeast coast. But there's enough of a south and southeast component to the wind flow aloft there to pull a lot of moisture up into the North Gulf Coast late tonight and into Sunday. Moisture wrapping back down and around for clouds and periods of rain or fog or drizzle here for the central Aleutians into the Unalaska area and Alaska Peninsula. Look for those winds to pick up gale force northwesterlies here for the central Aleutians and in toward the Fox Islands eventually. And in fact, gale warnings are out through Sunday for the Barren Islands up into Kamishak Bay with this frontal system. So pretty brisk winds there, but less wind tonight as that shifts north. Those winds will be dropping off across the east side of Kodiak Island. And for tomorrow, you can see the rain spreading in throughout the day tomorrow here. These lows heading right up toward the area there. This one kind of hanging back to the west, so that's going to keep the southeast flow and pull that moisture up into the North Gulf Coast. So a little more widespread rainfall here in the southern areas, as well as more widespread cloudiness moving up into the area there for the North Gulf Coast. But from the Alaska Range northward, even south of the Alaska Range won't be too bad, just some clouds. Sunshine up over the interior, back out towards the Seward Peninsula again with light winds. Temperatures 65 to into the lower 70s, quite nice conditions. Still a lingering thunderstorm or two in the afternoon, but most of that moisture now over in Canada, but some of that will be lingering back to the west tomorrow. Same thing up there over the eastern Arctic coast, that weakening front, that's the remnants of it there, that trough. So high pressure building in behind, light winds and mostly sunny skies up over the North Slope, Brooks Range. Very nice conditions again back down across the Noatak Valley, Selawik Valley areas, right down to St. Lawrence Island, but staying wet there over the Pribilof Islands. That low edging its way eastward along with the upper level low slowly pulling eastward. It's more down in this location here, but the main jet again is going to push those systems right into the Panhandle. So again, the rain developing tomorrow, and then some solid rain overnight Monday or Sunday night, and then Monday morning rain, and then gradually changing to showers as the front drags through the area, but a pretty good trough there. So that'll be a slow switch over to the showers, but that should start tapering off late Monday, hopefully there, but still a good southwest flow aloft. Another front developing here, the upper level low pulling eastward, so some pretty good showers coming back into Kodiak Island and up to the North Gulf Coast. Risk of a thunderstorm over the Talkeetnas, Alaska range there, the upper trough axis right through this area. So as the wind flow shifts, start seeing the lower flying conditions developing along the western slopes of the Alaska range, and then those Turnagain winds, which could kick up to 35 miles an hour, both along the hillside and through Turnagain Arm tomorrow, begin to definitely drop off. If not by late morning, definitely by the afternoon hours here over south central Alaska as the whole weather pattern shifts eastward. High pressure over the southwest Bering, Aleutians, another system driving eastward with rain into the Adak and Atka area. But the Arctic coast looking pretty good. Just some variable cloudiness and sunshine for the North Slope and the Brooks Range areas. And again, back down to the Bering Strait. For temperatures today, 60s across the Panhandle, ranging from 63 there at Sitka to 67 in Juneau, 61 at Skagway, and 62 at Yakutat, with 59 at Cordova, 60 at Anchorage, same thing in Homer, 67 up at Gulkana, 65 there in Delta, 66 Fairbanks, McGrath, 70 degrees today, and a 64 at Fort Yukon with 55 at Arctic Village, and kind of a range here, 59 over at that's Nuiqsut, 45 at Kaktovik, about the same at Barrow, 49 there at Point Lay. Mid-50s to lower 60s here over the Noatak Valley, northwest Kotzebue, those areas, 62 over at Nome, but Golovin was a warm spot in the state today with 73 degrees, 62 at Unalakleet. There's a Monarch with 62, 54 over at Gamble, and pulling down to the southwest there, down the Kuskokwim River Valley, as well as the Yukon, lower to mid-60s today, 59 Cape Newingham, and a 55 there with the rain and breezy conditions at Kodiak. And into the 60s here along the Alaska Peninsula. Cold Bay 63 today with a 64 at Pilot Point. 61 on Alaska, 50s for the Pribilofs, mid-50s Adak and Atka, but Shimia reached 60 degrees, and they actually carried clear skies for one observation. For the lows tonight, lower 50s for the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, and mid-30s Arctic coast, 40s for the North Slope, and then some lower 40s, upper 30s, lower 40s here over the interior, but mostly in the 45 to 53 degree range here in the southwest, and 40s over the Copper River Basin, lower 50s for the Panhandle. Highs for tomorrow, again, the warmest conditions in the interior from the Seward Peninsula over to the Yukon with 60s to lower 70s again. Clouds and rain will keep it cooler here to the south, and of course cooler up to the north along the Arctic coast. And for the flying weather, IFR spreading inland throughout the day tomorrow, especially in the late afternoon along the coast there, all across the Gulf, right up to the North Gulf Coast. Coming back, should cover most of Prince William Sound, down the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, occasional IFR, and that up along and on the east side of the western Alaska Range. Otherwise, pretty good up to the north, just some patchy stuff along the Arctic coast, and a big bunch of IFR coming eastward across the Aleutians. And for Anaktuvik, pretty good there. VFR, either approach, same forecast for Adigan. Lake Clark and Merrill becoming IFR, and probably the lowest conditions on the eastern entrance, and that'll tend to switch around on Monday with the lowest conditions developing on the western entrances. And for rainy, marginal VFR becoming IFR tomorrow, and for windy though, should stay VFR, as well as Isabel and Mentasta. No problems there. VFR clouds and ceilings for Tanita, possibly becoming marginal on the eastern entrance. And Portage, marginal VFR becoming IFR, definitely on the east entrance early in the morning, and then probably all the way across tomorrow afternoon. Chilkoot and White, definitely a downward trend in conditions there. Starting out VFR, but could become IFR by the latter part of the afternoon. Freezing levels showing the frontal position right through here with the 8,000 foot line there over the Alaska Peninsula, and then 10 to 12,000 feet kind of paralleling the winds aloft right in toward the southeast coast. Cooler conditions behind that front there, but not too terribly chilly, and then some cooler air aloft coming in across the eastern Aleutians and southeast Bering Sea. Look for some rime icing of the moderate variety possible here in the shaded areas all along the North Gulf Coast and areas, and mostly above 10,000 feet there for the Panhandle, lowering back to about 6,000 feet on up here for the Alaska Peninsula, and then some stuff coming back from the northeast, wrapping around that low in toward the Pribilof Islands from the southwest coast. Winds aloft, here's this upper level low that's edging its way eastward, and a pretty good jet here, two branches coming together, 140 knots southwesterly, but that's going to slide everything off to the northeast and toward the southeast coast, and then this trough will be coming across, should be almost right along the Alaska Range at midday Monday. And for tomorrow, 9,000 foot winds, 30 to 35 knots here all across Kodiak Island, lighter up over the interior, 3,000 feet. Pretty good northeasterlies here, 30 to 40 knots up over the Bering Sea, wrapping back around. Of course, we've got gale warnings out in that area, and you can see the main push here in toward the southeast coast with just some stuff coming back from the east. That'll support some gale warnings tomorrow for the coastal areas. Turbulence-wise, not too bad, kind of a batch of isolated moderate here along the North Gulf Coast, but the heavier stuff out here with the stronger winds, mechanical moderate turbulence, Fox Islands back toward Atka, and up into the southwest interior. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
At the Geophysical Institute, scientists monitor earthquake data from several hundred seismic sensing stations across Alaska. When a seismic disturbance occurs, this data is instantly transmitted to the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's West Coast and Alaska Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer, Alaska. Scientists on 24-hour call quickly analyze that data, along with data from their own network of sensors, and decide whether or not they should issue a tsunami warning.
When we see a large earthquake has occurred and it's occurred near the coast, we'll issue a warning to those who could be affected by the wave within a certain amount of time. And then we'll monitor the wave to see if it really was dangerous or not, and if it was dangerous, then we'll expand the warning to all the people that it may be dangerous for.
You can improve warning systems and do that a number of ways. One of the most obvious is by providing better hardware to measure earthquakes more accurately, but also to measure directly the tsunami itself.
As part of the DART project, Deep Ocean Assessment and Reporting of Tsunamis, NOAA has developed a system of 6 ocean buoys which help measure a potential tsunami. Attached to the buoys are pressure sensors on the ocean bottom that can detect tsunamis passing overhead. The sensors instantly beam the data via satellite to NOAA's tsunami warning centers in Palmer and Eva Beach, Hawaii.
I work with the state seismologists and other seismologists in our Alaska Earthquake Information Center to generate the hypothetical earthquake scenarios.
These what-if scenarios are used to produce very practical products. One of them is called an inundation map.
Inundation maps are critical to defining evacuation zones and routes so that coastal communities can respond quickly in the event of a tsunami. These deceptively simple maps show the highest point of flooding by a potential tsunami, but a mind-numbing amount of data is needed to generate them. It is only with the advent of the supercomputer that researchers finally had the tool they needed to take tsunami research to the next level. In the mid-1990s, Alaska Sea Grant funded a research project by University of Alaska Fairbanks scientists Zygmunt Kowalik and Elena Suleimani. They worked with the Arctic Region Supercomputing Center at UAF to create a model of an event that occurred over 120 years ago.
The first effort to test a tsunami model was to model the 1883 wave that was generated by the eruption of St. Augustine volcano, that is an island volcano in Cook Inlet.
When the volcano erupted, part of the mountain crashed into the sea and generated a wave that raced across Cook Inlet and partially flooded the village of English Bay. A logbook kept by the Alaska Commercial Company Trading Post at English Bay documents the sudden inundation.
On this morning at 8:15 o'clock, 4 tidal waves flowed with a westerly current, one following the other at the rate of 30 miles per hour, the sea rising 20 feet above the usual level.
Kowalik and Suleimani's analysis of that event resulted in a computer model that has been refined and is now used to create inundation maps for Alaska coastal towns. This supercomputer animation shows how several tsunamis inundated the U.S. Navy base in Kodiak after the 1964 earthquake. The red area indicates maximum inundation. Projections like this are used to create inundation maps.
The goal of our work in inundation mapping is to make coastal Alaska a safer place to live. And I think our major goal is to save lives.
Some shrewd detective work helped the researchers refine their computer model. Geologist and tsunami expert Dr. Gary Carver collected geological clues and considered eyewitness accounts to work up an accurate picture of what actually happened when the tsunamis hit Kodiak in 1964.
In this area, the wave came up this bay, and we have here some of the very best information concerning how large the 1964 wave was. This is also an area where we modeled the wave as a way of calibrating the modeling exercise. And what we found is that in this particular case, the modeled wave departed somewhat from what we know to be the actual area that the wave covered. But in reality, we know from the sand deposits and from the eyewitness accounts that the wave ran back into the trees, into the vicinity of those many houses and buildings back there. And so here's a place where we were able to use the geologic evidence and the historic evidence to calibrate the model.
If we get a big tsunami in this community, similar to what the University of Alaska Fairbanks researchers have told us, this waterfront will be gone. Our goal is to protect community residents and do the best we can to protect infrastructure. And by knowing where the wave may come, based on the information from the scientists, we've got a much better chance of preparing the community for dealing with that. But we've also tried to really educate the community that there are some instances that could cause a tsunami, and the sirens may not go off because we may not have gotten word that from the Tsunami Warning Center in Palmer that in fact a tsunami is on its way, and that would be one that would be locally generated by a local earthquake. And what we tell people is if they have trouble standing up for 15 seconds or the earthquake lasts for longer than 30 seconds, they should evacuate. They shouldn't wait for the siren to go off.
To help people in towns like Kodiak understand the threat and prepare for the next tsunamis, the NOAA National Weather Service runs an information program in partnership with the Alaska Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management called the Tsunami Ready Program.
Seward, Alaska was designated as the first tsunami-ready community within the state. The Alaska Division of Emergency Services and the city government got together via the fire chief and the assistant city manager and worked to bring us into uniform plan for evacuation and informational distribution to all of the citizens within the area.
This is a test of the emergency siren system.
This is only a test.
It means that we can get the word out to the people. We have all of the warning systems in place. We receive the information and we can pass that on to the people in town and be able to get them into an area of safety in case of tsunamis.
For the sourdough Alaskans who survived the ocean's fury in 1964, a real-life nightmare is burned into their memories. They know what tsunamis can do. But most of us were not here back then, when the black waves of March tore into our shores and swept away more than 100 souls. We would do well to learn from the experience of our fellow Alaskans. Because as the scientists assure us, it is not a question of if, but when the next tsunami will strike our coastline.
Welcome back. Well, the ice edge is about 100 nautical miles due north of Point Barrow and a shorter distance off to the northwest. And there's still that area of brash ice here hung up along the barrier islands there that's taking a long time to melt away, otherwise way off to the northeast for the main ice conditions. For the winds tomorrow, west-northwest, 15 to 20 knots here along the coastline, southerlies up to 20 Lincoln on Glacier Bay, lighter, more west-northwesterly over the inside waters. And then those winds should come up tomorrow evening overnight with the advance of that front and then drop back off as that thing washes out and moves on through. On Monday, just southerlies 20 knots, Lincoln on Glacier Bay, otherwise 10 to 15, give or take there for the inside waters. And westerly, 10 to 15 knots here for the coast. And then for the North Gulf Coast, it's going to be a little bit more wind. Gale warnings tonight in this area, and gale warnings out through tomorrow actually from the Barren Islands on into Kamishak Bay, and then may drop off to about 30 knots late tomorrow. Otherwise, northeasterlies for the most part 15 to 20 knots for Cook Inlet, and gale warnings for Shelikof Strait tonight, and then small craft advisories tomorrow. Then on Monday, much lighter winds now. In fact, tending to become westerly here for the Kamishak Bay area and Shelikof Strait as that trough axis edges its way eastward. So you can look at a southwest to south flow, but not all that strong at about 15 here for the North Gulf Coast, and very light southeasterlies for Prince William Sound. And those winds coming down the outflow winds returning an arm to 15 knots. Those really laying down Monday afternoon. And for Bristol Bay, southwest 15 knots, 20 knots along the Alaska Peninsula. Small craft advisories here on the southern coast. And then the outlook for Monday, small craft advisories here for west-southwesterlies for the Alaska Peninsula. Still light for Bristol Bay and southwest of Kodiak Island. Small craft advisories here for the Adak-Atka area. Tomorrow on up toward the Fox Islands. Diminishing winds out in the west. And then those become southeast 20 to 25 knots, taking a turn to the east toward Shimya with that next frontal system, southwesterlies, and then good northwest, small craft advisories there for on Alaska. Southwest coast, Pribilofs tomorrow, west 15 knots, and south there for Kuskokwim Bay, but north of Nunivak Island, mostly a northeast wind at 20 knots. That'll extend up to St. Lawrence Island. And then for Monday, swing the direction around west at about 20, northwest 15 to 20 along the coast, southwest up to 20 for the northern Bering Sea. And for the Arctic coast, pretty light winds here. Big change from today with the front having moved through and basically high pressure taking over. So even the east side here getting pretty light, but those winds may pick up some on Monday. Maybe 20 knots here on the east side, and then about 15 all easterly, 15 to 20 knots all the way over to the Cape Lisburn area. Then it drops off to 10 knots. And for tonight, most of this moisture is spreading eastward toward the Panhandle, but there'll be areas lifting northward for wetter conditions tomorrow. Sunshine up to the north, and then the whole pattern shifts eastward on Monday. So the rain all night Monday night or Sunday night for the southeast coast. Same thing for the North Gulf Coast. Turning showery in the afternoon there. Gusty northwest winds. Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula, showers over the southwest interior, sunny in the north.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.